Wildfires have been raging parts of Oklahoma for the past week. Nearly 250,000 acres of land have been scorched. At least 2 people were killed. One fire is being categorized as a megafire. Those types of fires spread over 100,000 acres. It is the 3rd megafire to actually hit Oklahoma in just the past 3 years. Meteorologist and writer at Weather Underground, Bob Henson, recently looked into the cause of the fire in his article called "Why is Oklahoma Burning?" And Bob Henson joins us now from Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. Bob, so it seems that we're seeing more and more of these megafires hitting Oklahoma. Why is that?
Well, a couple of reasons. One is that, certainly fire is a natural part of the landscape in the southern plains, including Oklahoma. But the last 3 or 4 years especially have seen some really dramatic swings between very wet summers and very dry winters. So that has exacerbated the amount of undergrowth that has developed in the summer and persisted into the fall and winter, and then dried out very dramatically in the winter. The past 6 months, western Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle, it's really rained only maybe once or twice, and some places have had a lot less than an inch of rain. So that's been a particular exacerbation the last couple of years.
So, Bob, are you definitively able to say that these fires are really impacted by climate change?
Well, there are some hints of climate change at work. Certainly the swings in the hydrologic cycle between intense periods of moisture and then rapid dryness and drought, that is a characteristic we're seeing in different parts of the globe. And even after some hurricanes that have hit the Gulf Coast, we've gone back into drought within a few months. So that is certainly something we're seeing more of around the globe with climate change. Certainly Oklahoma has a naturally mercurial climate between wet and dry, but those swings are a particular concern. It's more than just simply becoming a drier climate. It's this ratcheting back and forth between wet and dry, which allows the vegetation to grow, but then allows it to dry out and be fuel for the fires.
So, Bob, our viewers who may not be familiar with Oklahoma might not know that there are a lot of red cedar trees, are really abundant in the state. How exactly are those trees playing into this outbreak?
Well, that's something that's become an increasing concern. I grew up in Oklahoma and saw these trees around. They look like huge juniper bushes, typically 20, 30 feet tall. They're common in the eastern forested part of the state. The western part of the state used to burn every few years before settlement. And since then, fires have been suppressed, just as in many other parts of the country, such as California. And when you don't have controlled burns, it allows these red cedars to take hold in places where they would otherwise get wiped out by the periodic frequent fires. So that's allowed the red cedar to just proliferate. Some places it's increased by 400% in the last couple decades. And these trees are like fire bombs when they dry out. They allow the fires to get much taller than a typical grass fire would. And so it does play a role, especially with the red cedar growing in these very dry parts of the state.
So do you get a sense that there's any relief in sight for these areas?
Actually, there is some relief. This is some good news for a change. There is a wet system coming later this week. It looks like it may be the most substantial rain they've had since October in the Texas Panhandle, western Oklahoma. So it's not really a drought breaker, but it should at least tamp down the immediate fire risk. So I'm kind of hopeful that the worst is over as of today, but you can never let your guard down until it starts raining, of course.
That's a great point, Bob. Never let your guard down, but it's good to hear there might be some relief. Bob Henson, thank you for joining us.